That's how we say it here in the beautiful city of Davao. So welcome to every visitor in this place. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation. So once again, good afternoon. Welcome to the National Stakeholders Forum of Weather Index-Based Insurance Mindanao Project with the theme Transitioning from Vulnerable to Resilient Communities through Innovative Climate Risk Management Strategies. Again, maayong hapon kaninang tanan. Now to formally welcome everybody in this beautiful city and in this forum hall, we'd like now to call in to represent our dear Honorable Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio, Councilor 2nd District of Davao City, representing our Mayor, Councilor Marisa Salvador Abella. Let's give her a big hand, please.
Read her message for you. So, to Attorney Jovi Bernabe, or the President of the Philippine Crop Insurance Corporation, to Yusek Analisa Libuerte, from the DNR, to Congressman Arthur Yap, from the Congress, to Mr. Titon Itra from UNDP Philippines, to Ms. Lynette Amaro from the office, representing the office of Senator Villar, and to Director Alicia Ilaga of the Department of Agriculture, to Attorney Romel Cuenca, the Climate Change Commission, to Ms. Maria Febe Orbe from the DA Region 11, and to Attorney Reginald Beltran, representing the office of Congresswoman Vergara, and to our visitor, Mr. Yasuki Taishi, UNDP Bangkok, and to Mr. Israel de la Cruz. So on behalf of the City Government of Davao, I would like to welcome all the government officials, representatives from the United Nations Development Program, agriculture industry stakeholders and advocates, our farmers and guests from the various parts of the country who are gathered here for this National Stakeholders Forum of the Weather Index-Based Insurance for Mindanao Project. Maayong pagabot sa siyudad sa Davao. And we hope you will enjoy your stay here. You have arrived in time because we are in the middle of the celebration for the 80th Araw ng Davao, and we invite you to take part in the various activities lined up for this event. So agriculture is one of the top priorities of this administration, and so we'd like to thank the UNDP, the Department of Agriculture, and the Philippine Crop Insurance Corporation for selecting our farmers in Kalinan and Tubok as recipient of this project. So climate proofing our agriculture industry is critical, especially given the number of typhoons that hit our country every year. For atmospheric, geophysical, and astronomical services administration, or the PAGASA, and the Philippine Rice Research Institute to avail of this project. So to everyone here, may you take the most of this project and today's focus into climate resilient communities to help our farmers and to ensure our food security well into the future. Daghang salamat ug maayong hapon sa inyong tanan. For our mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilor Marisa Salvador Abella.
Yes, of course. I've nearly been here 6 years and I still cannot speak Tagalog, which is very embarrassing for me. Look, let me break with convention, because convention normally requires me to name everyone at the head table. But let me just welcome everyone at the head table. And the reason I do that is because I often feel when you speak to people, the important people really are the participants. And in this case, I know there are a number of farmers who've been involved with the project, so I'm not able to acknowledge you by individual name. So let me collectively welcome you and other stakeholders to this event. This is a stakeholder forum on innovative climate risk management. And I have to say, I think for all of us, we know why this is becoming increasingly important. I was here some 5 or 6 years ago, and at that time when we talked about natural disasters and calamities, people didn't pay a lot of attention, but now it's very much part of our daily life. And if you think about it, in the Philippines, we encounter on average 17 typhoons a year, and I was just looking at the figures just over 2007 and 2010, when I was first here in the Philippines previously. There were 67 typhoons in that period. And we do know that the frequency and intensity is likely to increase as we see, unfortunately, an increase in sea surface temperatures, which will cause higher wind speeds and more intense rainfalls. We've all experienced, I think, the effects of El Nino, and we know that when it hits with greater impact every time it does occur. Then we also know the huge losses to the economy that this country faces. Between 2007 and 2010, the Philippines lost some 32 billion pesos because of typhoons. If you looked at the impact of floods in exactly that same period, it was about 4.3 billion pesos. If you looked at droughts, it's 10 billion pesos. Cumulatively in that period, we're talking about $10 billion that was lost to the economy and had to be somehow recouped from government outlays. They're the aggregate figures, and they're great when economists talk and people write academic articles about the impact, but ultimately they translate into something very real, which is that for the farmers here and those around the country, they lose their livelihoods. Any meagre savings they have is often lost as they try to use those to replant and restart their livelihoods. And it ultimately leads to increased indebtedness. That's a human part of this story. The other thing that we know in the Philippines is that while we have over 20% of the population who are under the poverty line, we know there are a lot of people who sit just above and just below. And it only takes one climatic event to affect that, and we see a huge increase in the poverty numbers. So in this context, it really is critical that the government does develop innovative initiatives to target the poor and the near poor. We just had a board meeting in the morning, and it's really clear that this weather-based index insurance has incredible promise, because it does allow the combination of science with cutting-edge weather indexing. But in tangible terms, what does all that debate the situation with the farmer, and then ultimately 3 months later make a payment? In that time, the farmer has lost the ability to replant, and therefore a crop cycle, and therefore an income. So we really are talking about an initiative which responds to the is really a very, very modest start. We only have 2,400 farmers who are enrolled in WIBI. We've made something like 178 payouts. The crop coverage is only limited at the moment to rice and corn. And so we really have a lot more to do. But what we are seeing on the positive side here is excellent collaboration with the various government agencies that are involved in governments. We also have incredibly strong legislative backing, and I really want to thank Congressman Yap for his leadership in this process. He was just telling me that in many ways WIBI was his baby, when it shows that we still have so much to do. But he has been instrumental in pushing for a House bill which will allow PCIC to be a reinsurer and give it a very strong gauges, but I think the prognosis is very good, and temperature rises, and there is a whole lot of work to look at the premiums farmers ultimately have to pay. We need the legislature, we need the executive, and we need corporations like the PCIC to push this forward.
Country Director, UNDP Philippines, Mr. Tito Mika. Thank you very much.
But I'm very, very happy to see many of you. Tungod ay daghan ka ninyo, mga friends na sa una pa, mga amigo, mga amiga, partners in the Department of Agriculture. It's so nice to see many of your faces. And more important than that is to be part of an agricultural activity, which is very close to our hearts. Let me just begin with a few comments now, as I share some of my remarks on the National Stakeholders Forum for the Weather Index-Based Insurance. In the year 2000, ladies and gentlemen, the Philippines signed its commitment to join the United Nations efforts at achieving the United Nations Millennium Development Goals. We, of course, in Mindanao, we understand this because we always have many activities here on the United Nations Millennium Development Goals. It's now called the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, amongst its 17 targets, primarily the first, second, and the third targets would be to end hunger, to end poverty, and to ensure healthy lives, and promote the well-being of its citizens. That is the top three na objectives ng United Nations. Kung asa ang Pilipinas na-appeal sa mga conventions. In the Philippines, poverty, hunger, and joblessness, and underemployment are all significantly rural phenomena intimately linked to each other. In a sector greatly reeling from the impact of underinvestment in rural infrastructure. Kulang ang mga patubig, kulang ang atong mga agyanan, atong mga taytayan. It is heartening to note that the government is set to spend significantly more on domestic infrastructure in the urban or in the rural setting. Sa urban, nag-promise na saan na ang gobyerno paggawa, pagkatugod ng mga bagong mga rail systems. Angkot sa Mindanao, pagkatugod na itong bagong systems. In fact, that is part of the loan submissions that we're going to submit to China, ang Mindanao rail system. From railways and bridges to ports and irrigation facilities, the government has declared that it is intent on sustaining our growth through government expenditures. And of course, finding also the fiscal sources to bankroll these investments. Of course, we have to know where we're going to get the money from. But considering that the Philippines is such a climate vulnerable nation, suffering dozens of tropical cyclones every year in a climate change world, with these expenditure efforts, will it be enough to meet the NETA target of bringing down poverty from 21% today to 14% by 2022? And also to meet the target to increase the gross national income from $3,500 to $4,100 in that time. In November 2013, we captured global attention as the most storm-exposed country on earth as declared by Time News magazine. In fact, I can show you some slides now. This is the number of tropical cyclones that entered the Philippines. This is from the National Disaster Management Council. This appeared in a Rappler report that I was looking at. Look at the number of destructive tropical cyclones that are entering the Philippines in the last, from 2010 to 2015. Next slide. The number of destructive typhoons. Lahi pa ang typhoons sa cyclones. Okay, next. Casualties. Of course, in 2013, that was the year that we had the great earthquake in Bohol, and that's when we had Typhoon Haiyan. You had more than 35,000 ang mga namatay. But the good thing about this table, as you can see, is we have been learning from our experiences. It's dropping. 2015. Kung may bagyo, we're very active. We evacuate people right away. We prepare ourselves. So, naghanap atong mga atunan ba? We have learned so much. Next. Look at the total number of damaged houses. I think you will reach 200 billion. From 2010 to 2015, more than 200 billion on agricultural crop damages. Kung ang damages sa infrastruktura mo about. Alright. So, very clearly, there is a case to be made that we are the most vulnerable. The Philippines first, then it gets broken up. Oo nga, pag-abot sa Vietnam, pag-abot sa China, ulan na. Because we broke it up. But the main impact, with no real and expansive agricultural property or life insurance protection, farmers just watch helplessly as the weather comes to take away the sweat and tears of investments that farmers have planted. In fact, in the recently concluded year, Congressman, ingon niya, more than a dozen farmers committed suicide. Nagpakamatay. And that's why there is no hope. May paglaon ba? And so that's the reason why she wanted to concentrate also in finding a solution. Now, for the few who actually understand and take out insurance coverage for their crops, ang gamay nga nakasabot, the mode and indemnity-based system of agricultural crop insurance is dismally outdated. Ang sistema sa pag-insure o sa pagbayad is already outdated. Ang indemnity-based insurance system, this can work if you have a car insurance. Maybe for car insurance, it will work. But for agri-insurance, it will not work. Mabangga ka, bayaran ka. O maybe for cars pwede. Car insurance pwede na, indemnity-based. But in agriculture, it's very different. Because we know that as the weather changes, maapektuhan ang atong crop. Di ba? Ang first 1 month sa rice production or corn production, depending on the weather and the water, maapektuhan ang atong crop. Sakto lang. Oh. Second month, ibaw na ito na effect. Differences. Bago nga na ay breach, naatay index eh. Bago nga index-based insurance. Gi-index na ito ang tubig, gi-index na ito here's a perfect example. First 55 days, vegetative growth stage. This was prepared by the UNDP, by the way. We need 238 millimeters of water for the first 50. Any time that you cannot give the rice crop this type of water, na-impact sa tuba. O nga, kinahanglan ba ito magbuhat pa hapon sa ending sa tumoy? You're already suffering damages here. So kinahanglan, mabayaran, nakakaroon. Magbuhat pa, up to the end. We should not. And that's why,
and even nations, sovereign states, they have risk transfer mechanisms and payout systems for their people, and it is working. I'm not talking about something imaginative here, or something fantastic. Mga mag-uuma. LGUs are the ones with responsibility, ARC. They have banded together and they use government funds. And they're trying to ensure at different stages of an unfolding calamity without having to wait for a total wipeout is what will give our farmers and our poor the chance to save what they can save and prevent more losses and damages. Kung sayo-sayo ang atong pagbayad. If you wait for the end, it's too late. By purchasing this insurance, when you buy this insurance, nations can now shift disaster and associated economic, social, and medical costs away from the LGUs and government. Willing naman sila mo insure. That's why if you buy these insurance premiums, you can shift the risk from LGUs and to climate-proof the entire Africa. This is indeed stunning and welcome news. And I say welcome and stunning because here in Asia, the Philippines is chairing.
Showing that this project is not a pipe dream. Posible na. Initially covering 10 provinces in 2 Mindanao regions, this project has been able to insure close to 3,000 farmers. And actually authorized actual payouts to 170.
Sigurado ha? Okay. Na-cash ninyo ha? Wala namang pera sa bangko. Alright. So that we can allow now the Philippine Crop Insurance to amend its charter so that it can go to index-based reinsurance and direct insurance and to capitalize it for that purpose. Because kulang ang kapital ng Philippine Crop Insurance. If you allow the Philippine Crop Insurance to be recapitalized, if you allow the Philippine Crop Insurance to go into index-based reinsurance, senyales na sa pribadong sektor. It is a signal to the private sector that you can now come in and insure because they can partner. The private sector can go into Philippine farmlands and insure, and then they will be protected and reinsured by the PCIC. We must also do a good job to promote a buy-in into this project with the government, primarily the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Agrarian Reform, because they have a lot of farm beneficiaries. The DENR is here, no less than Undersecretary is here with us. And the DOST Pag-asa is very critical. Why is DOST very critical? You know, people were wondering why in the last Congress, in the 16th Congress, I filed a bill to modernize the Pag-asa. And this was signed into law. Why did I champion the modernization of Pag-asa? You cannot do an index-based insurance if you don't have weather data. We need to increase the agreement stations. We need to increase the Pag-asa weather stations. We also need to fund the DA and the DOST's capability to use and engage satellite services. Science must come into agriculture. Just go. If we know that the rain, you know why Alice Ilaga is here? She was tasked by the secretary to launch that mapping program of the DA. Alright? So now you have a map. But that map has to be continuously updated. Because nagbabago ang mapa ng Pilipinas. But that map, even if we know what to plant, even if the farmers want to plant, if there is no financing, how can they plant? Then ikaduha, how do you convince the banks to lend to farmers to plant? Wala namang insurance. Pwede bang pilitin, pupusta sa mga bangko na magpahuwang o kwarta? Sila yung responsibilidad sa ilang stakeholders na kinahanglan, they are also above ground. You cannot force the banks, di ba? Kanunay, masumunta sa mga bangko, di sila magpahuwang sa mga mag-uuma. We cannot keep on blaming the banks. Eh kung tumumba yung bangko, we need an insurance system. And that's why we need to engage with the DAR, the DNR, the DOST Pag-asa. We need to engage legislators. What's happening today, I will report to them because imagine, we are already starting to pay out farmers in 10 provinces, in regions 10 and 11. Sayang that there is session today. That's why I'm leaving. I'm rushing back home. I'm trying to catch a 4 o'clock flight so I can go back to Manila to attend sessions if they are all there. We need to increase our works with LGU heads, farm stakeholders, mga co-ops, and mainstream finance entities so that we can convince them to let out. They will not let out if there's no security. So for now, we need that counterpart bill from the Senate. We need to work to come up and pass that law on index-based insurance. We need to support all the agencies that we have identified. And I hope you will do your part in convincing your legislators as well to support this project, and your mayors and your governors. It's very important that they understand this, and I hope the UNDP and the DA and the PCIC and all the agencies here, especially our multilateral funding partners, can continue this program because we've only just begun.
I'd like to say na tapos na ang trabaho. With the payout here, we can prove that it works, but no, I'm sorry to say, we've just begun. Because now you've shown that it can be done. But we now have to ramp it up. We are a nation, we are an agricultural nation. Not only are we an agricultural nation, we are a fishery country as well. What about fisherfolk? They can be benefited by an index-based insurance. For now, let me congratulate the UNDP under the leadership of its country director, Idol Mitra. Thank you very much, sir. And most of all, Israel de la Cruz, the WIBI project manager. Israel, you stand up so that you will be recognized. And then the supervisor, Yusuke Aishi-san, photo. And of course, Attorney Joey Bernabe. And the entire boss, Tito Baliho. Implementors. There are still great mountains to be scaled. There are still great mountains to be conquered. But I am confident that you will all be up to the task. Salamat kanina.
Thank you very much, Congressman Andrea. Congressman, sir, could you please join us here up on stage? Also would like to request Mr. Titon Mitra Arthur Young in recognition and with deepest gratitude for your support to the scaling up risk transfer mechanisms for climate vulnerable agriculture-based communities in Mindanao or weather index-based insurance for WIBI Mindanao project. National Stakeholders Forum, March 14, 2017, Davao City, Philippines. Let's give them a big round of applause here. We'd like to request the rest of the gentlemen to please stay. Congressman Arthur Yap, you may proceed back to where you're seated. Maraming salamat. Gentlemen, please stay. Before we listen, again, the plaque reads, Plaque of Appreciation presented to, in recognition and with deepest gratitude for your support for the scaling up risk transfer mechanism for climbing vulnerable agriculture-based communities in Mindanao or weather index-based insurance WIBI Mindanao project, National Stakeholders Forum, March 14, 2017, Davao City, Philippines. One more time, let's give them a big hand. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
She cannot make it here because, as you know, she has to attend the plenary session in the Senate today, especially since this is the last week before they adjourn for the summer break. But she did prepare a message that I would be honored to read out to all of you. First of all, I would like to commend UNDP and the DA's Philippine Crop Insurance Corporation. The WIBI Mindanao project has really made quite a difference since it was launched here in Davao City in June 2015. I went through the project's accomplishment report, and I am pleased to learn that as of last year, you have exceeded your set targets for regions 10 and 11. The number of farmers enrolled in the program, as well as the number of hectares insured, are increasing as well. Of course, more than the amount of payouts involved, it is a fact that they are distributed in a fast manner, and that is what is more noteworthy. Now more than ever, as we continue to feel the adverse impacts of climate change, there is a real and urgent need to help farmers recover losses in crops and properties due to climate change. More so on the climate risk covered by the WIBI project variability in climate and the climate change-induced natural disasters against a changing climate. That translates to a much better fighting chance for farmers who are still among the poorest in our country to beat poverty. With an average of 20 typhoons entering the country in a year, our farmers and fisherfolks are always the crop insurance system in order to come up with not only a most comprehensive bill, but with one that will benefit farmers the most. The project and program after another that will address the risks that it brings about. Our DA's adaptation and mitigation initiatives in agriculture to address climate change. Access to data. It digitalizes all the latest scientific data on soil analysis, climate impact, geographical hazards, and weather.
Senator Cynthia Villar. Thank you very much to you, ma'am. Now we're hearing a message from the Project Board Chairperson of Weeby Mindanao, Yusek Bernadette Romulo-Puya. Would like now to request Director Angelina Pancho, Regional Technical Director for Research and Regulations at the Department of Agriculture, Regional Field Office 11. Let's give her a big round of applause.
This afternoon, I would like to deliver the message from the Project Board Chairperson of VP Mindanao, Yusek Bernadette Romulo-Puya, representing our Regional Executive Director, Ricardo A. Muñan, Jr. Allow me to thank the Department of Agriculture, Regional Office 11, and the City Government of Davao for hosting this significant event, the National Stakeholders Forum for the Weeby Mindanao project. It is undeniable that climate change has posed itself as a threat to agriculture and food security. We experience extreme weather conditions more often, and this type of risk impedes the socio-economic development of our farmers. For the past years, we have been hit by extreme weather events that cost the agriculture sector billions of pesos worth of production losses. Undoubtedly, the intensity and frequency of extreme weather events, in addition to increasing weather variability brought about by climate change, are more and more prevalent. The need for mechanisms to reduce or mitigate the effects of these weather conditions is very crucial to suffer serious food troubles. It was in 2014 that the department started the implementation of the Global Environment Facility, so we be insured for Mindanao project for short. And 3, community-based adaptation learning and measures. Through the Weeby Mindanao, special guarantee rates are now available for 1,743 hectares in weather index-based insurance and a total of 1 climate change. Adaptations and disaster risk reductions will also conducted to increase the resilience of our
Director Angelina.
Agriculture, being Secretary of Agriculture for more than 5 years. Is a person also who's responsible for having me been appointed in 2008 as a president of PCIC, and who's now responsible for pushing all of this advocacy for the strengthening of PCIC. Congressman Arthur C. Yap, I would like also to acknowledge Councilor Marisa Lelia, representing the mayor, yung aking classmate, section mate sa law school, pagkagaling, pagkatalino at maganda na Undersecretary of DNR, Attorney Undersecretary Annalisa Tech. Kailangan ko banggitin, of course, ang ating benefactor, the reason why we're all here, yung UNDP, headed by Country Director Liton Mitra, and the regional head of UNDP, Mr. Yusuke Kaishi, at yung mga staff ng UNDP na nandito, like Aimee Manal. Palakpakan natin sila. And I want also to mention and acknowledge the presence of our chairman of the board of PCIC, who's also from Davao, former Congressman Chairman Joscoro Granada. Very briefly, allow me to share with you how We Be Mindanao project had progressed since its inception in November 2014. And since its official launching at this very place, here in Davao, I think also here in Marco Polo, 2 years ago. When we started this project, through the support of UNDP, PCIC provided its counterpart funding to this project by granting 100% full premium subsidy to the participating farmers. Our counterpart funding, amounting to 2 million pesos, was utilized to give free WIBI insurance coverage to around 2,000 rice and corn farmers in regions 10 and 11. After overachieving our target of 2,000 farmers, we provided an additional 2 million pesos to cover more farmers until the end of this crop season in June 2017. In terms of project accomplishments, PCIC has enrolled 2,413 farmers, dealing around 2,743 hectares out in the country at the soonest possible time. And lastly, I just want to report to you that on the part of PCIC, we wish to assure you that we will continue to give our best in providing crop insurance protection to as many farmers as we can. We are rapidly growing with the support of President Rodrigo Duterte and Secretary Piñol and our legislators led by Congressman Artiao. In 2016, we paid 1.6 billion pesos worth of insurance claims to farmers. And it's 16% higher compared to the 1.378 billion pesos we paid in 2015. So we're really growing. We provided insurance protection last year. And for our last slide, I'd just like also to, I'm pleased to report to you that we further improve our services, especially on our insurance claims processing, which is really the concern of our farmers. Kasi gusto nyo talaga mabilis sa processing, di ba? Hindi yung 3 months, 4 months. We have recently launched a smartphone technology that enables our farmers, our adjusters, to fast-track the adjustment and processing of claims. In this illustration of damages caused by pest infestation, specifically lampa, while they were still there, they were able to transmit their findings to our regional office in Pagadian. Our regional office is can be saved the people. This happened 2 weeks ago. Hindi makapaniwala yung mga farmers.
Lose your appetite. But ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Weeks ago, prior to the national forum, I was discussing the program with my staff. What would be the best format for this event, since this will be pretty much our, our culmination activity or our graduation. But like I said, I wanted a graceful exit. I have a myriad of life insurances, but never an idea on crop insurance. Literally zero.
But it was actually Yusek Serrana and myself who defended this project over the other projects. In fact, there was a very strong contender from the DTI then. Kaya dahil lang po sa aming pagmamahal noon ay naging priority itong WIBI project for Mindanao. And so we're very happy that it has been implemented and it's now nearing its completion. Ang tinitingnan lang po natin ay sana ay the learnings and the experience from the WIBI project can be documented so it can be upscaled. Allow me also to congratulate you all because you're all part of this project for all the accomplishments that have been presented today. So bilang isang agriculture country where a significant proportion of our population belong to, this task of addressing climate change impacts becomes really a pillar in the programs of the aid. Ang focus talaga po natin ay to enable our local communities and our industries, government, as well as non-government, in fact, is the whole country to adapt to climate change. At pag sinabi natin yung adapt, to respond successfully sa pagbabago ng klima at ng panahon. So ito po yung rationale ng ating programa sa Department of Agriculture, which we call AMIA, or Adaptation and Mitigation Initiative in Agriculture. Actually, this is DA's way of investing in climate change. So what I would like to present this afternoon would be the current accomplishments of this particular initiative. And it's all about our plan on how to build resilient livelihoods and communities. Sabi po ni Congressman Yap kanina, dapat gumamit tayo ng siyensa at saka teknolohiya. At yan po talaga ang ginagawa din natin sa AMIA program. Hindi siya katulad ng ating mga national programs, rice, corn, high value, fish, livestock. Ito po ay mainstreaming program. Pag sinabi natin mainstreaming, pagtuturo sa lahat ng mga Department of Agriculture, mga sumusuporta sa mga magsasaka at mangingisda, pati magsasaka at mangingisda themselves on how they would consider climate change in their regular ways of doing things. So, ang malaki pong accomplishment na nagawa namin ngayon is how we have modernized planning and decision-making tools that are tailor-fitted to the needs of the agriculture sector. So, ang department po, we have invested on improving our technologies to speed up the monitoring of agriculture areas. Alam na po natin yung mga UAVs, drones, yan. So, ang ginawa lang po ng programa is to standardize the design of drones, not only to address agricultural needs, such as pest monitoring, but also to aid in the assessments of the effects of disasters like damages to crops, to fields and agriculture areas. Ito po yung nakikita natin na sana ma-adapt din ng Philippine Crop Insurance Corporation para mabilis ang damage assessment. Kasama nung ginagawa ng Department of Agriculture na referencing of geo-referencing of farms para mabilis ang payout. So meron na pa tayong mga guidelines, manual, para kung yung ating mga local government units, mga regional field offices, gustong gamitin ito ay pwede na. We also have other tools like Nutrient Expert. This will modernize our extension services to help our farmers have the best yields and income despite climate and disaster risks. So we're working hand in hand with the Institute of Plant Nutrition to adopt and enhance the tool called Nutrient Expert. So ang maganda po dito, yung app can be downloaded on a tablet or an Android phone. Kasi yung mga dati kailangan ko ng internet, pero ito, nasa tablet na. So you don't really remove the function of a face-to-face encounter with the farmer of the Filipino people. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat din po. Director Alice Lang. Thank you very much. Now, we'd like to invite everybody to direct your attention to our LED wall, our video screens. Thank you very much. Now, we'd like to the scaling up risk transfer mechanism for climate vulnerable agriculture-based communities in Mindanao, or weather index-based insurance with the Mindanao Project National Stakeholders Forum, March 14, 2017, Davao City, Philippines. Also sharing another award and flag of appreciation to the Philippine Rise Research Institute, or the Also receiving a plaque of appreciation from the Agriculture Credit Policy Council, or ACPC. Requesting the representatives, please head up on stage. Also sharing another plaque of appreciation for ATI, or Agricultural Training Institute. Representatives, please. Receiving their plaque and enjoying a souvenir photo. National Stakeholders Forum for Wiki Mindanao Project. Next, to receive another plaque of appreciation, we're calling on to the representatives of Climate Change Commission, or CCC. Climate Change Commission. We'd like to thank next and share this flag of appreciation representing the local government unit of the City of Davao. City of Davao representative, local government unit. Okay, we're moving forward, representing the local government unit of the City of Tagum. May I request your presence, representative from Tagum City. Thank you very much. Also receiving another plaque of appreciation, we are requesting the presence for the representatives of the LGU province of Bukidnon. Also receiving another plaque of appreciation, we are requesting representatives from the local government unit, City of Malaybalay. Another plaque of appreciation is given to or awarded to the local government unit of the City of Valencia. City of Valencia. Representative, please. Another plaque of appreciation for the local government unit of the province of Davao del Norte. Davao del Norte. Please, the representative.
Mamadali si ate, may lakad.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause to all of the responsible parties and local government units. Thank you very much to all the gentlemen who were our presenters.
Maayong hapon sa tanan. Good afternoon. Of course, my courtesy to everyone seated at the head table, our honored resource persons and guests from the national line agencies, from the Department of Agriculture Central Office, the attached agencies, from the local government units who are the beneficiaries of this project of WILI, and of course, the funder, the UNDP. Again, maayong hapon sa tanan. As I observe, indeed there is an overwhelming support, no, from both executive and legislative branches of government relative to the climate change adaptation measures. It is because the devastating effects of climate change is real. In Region 11 alone, we experienced Pablo in 2012. And there were a series of low-pressure areas, of course, and what we call yung long dry spell, no? Yung drought, yung naas kayong mahuwaw. For Pablo alone, we suffered about 30.5 billion pesos in damage. But at the Department of Agriculture, it is also true that we are mandated, especially by the Secretary, to produce food for every Filipino. But then the targets, especially in raising the productivity levels of commodities, is a challenge for all of us, not only in Region 11, but also in other regions, no, for the entire country. Because the sector that we are helping is very much at risk, always at risk, very much vulnerable. That is the reason why our farmers, kung masaka sila, sinasabi nila na failure or short, yun ang kanilang sinasabi, especially when we do our monitoring. So this climate change adaptation measure, especially these WIPI products, is very timely because through this, we can help our farmers to be more or less may konting caution with regards to losses. We can help them reduce the factors na risky or yung vulnerability factors. So sabi nga ni Congressman Yap kanina, we've only just begun and marami pa tayong dapat gagawin, especially not only at the Department of Agriculture but of course other funding agencies, no, mga national, other non-government agencies. So since tapos na ang project, ito ngayon ang pinaka challenge sa lahat is for us to sustain the initial gains of this project, especially these WIPI packages. Na I believe that we still have to replicate to other areas, other regions, other provinces, and other municipalities na hindi pa na-cover ng project nito. So, I believe that the goal for this particular program is to help reduce the vulnerabilities of the poor rural smallholders, thereby also improving the socio-economic conditions, especially in the rural areas. So how we wish that this project will also be having a rippling effect in the communities, especially for those target areas in Davao del Norte, in Davao City, and also in Region 10. So as we depart from this place, let us always remember that we can only do so much. In the Department of Agriculture, in the attached agencies that we are involving, the national, other non-government agencies, there are still a lot of things to do, especially for the farming sector. So as we go home, let us bear in mind that development efforts does not end here. There's still a lot of things to do outside. And let us continue, may God bless us all as we depart from this place and as we continue to undertake development efforts, not only in this region, but for the rest of the regions in Mindanao and also for the entire country. Kudos to everyone. Salamat tayo.
Salamat, Ms. Maria Fede Orbe. Thank you very much, ma'am. After this one, we'll be having a quick photo opportunity, so please stay for a little while. But once again, thank you very much, everybody, for coming over and being. Thank you very much. Now, we'd like to request all our VIPs or people seated at the head table to please head up on stage for a quick photo